Welcome to the RC Stories Garage. In this episode, I will show you how to configure basic winch control on your rock crawler or trail truck. This is part 1 of a 3-part series about configuring your DX5 Rugged radio to control a winch. In the next episode, I will cover channel mixing using throttle priority. Part 3 will cover a variation of channel mixing using winch priority. This series was inspired by a viewer request. They wanted a video about configuring a radio to control a winch. There are probably many ways to configure a radio to control a winch, depending on the brand of equipment and the style of driving you do. The most basic configuration uses a 3-position switch to give you in, off, out control of the winch, and will work for most people, whether they are comping or trailing. This video will cover that basic configuration. I'm going to demonstrate with a Spektrum DX5 Rugged radio, but the concept should be applicable to any radio system with at least one auxiliary channel. In 2 subsequent videos, I will explore more advanced winch control with channel mixing. Here are some things you need for this project. You need a winch with a built-in controller or an external controller attached to an auxiliary channel of your receiver. You need a 3-position switch on your controller. You will want somewhere to test your winch setup. This video will cover the following setup steps: terminology review, preparing the radio transmitter, configuring a radio input. The first step is to choose which radio input you want to use for winch control. Spektrum's terminology in this regard can be a little abbreviated and confusing. The DX5 Rugged has 7 primary programmable inputs. Spektrum calls inputs A through D trims, and by default they are used for adjusting things like steering trim and throttle rate. But they can also be used as switches. Inputs E and F can be programmed as 2 or 3-position switches. Input G can be programmed as a 2-position switch. I like to use E and F for shifting servos, and G for dig. So in this demonstration, I will use D for normal winch control. My right middle finger controls the D switch while my thumb and forefinger do the steering. My left hand deals with the throttle. If you prefer, you can use E or F to control the winch with your left thumb. Luckily, by default, there is no function assigned to the D input. However, if you are going to use E or F input, those are assigned to steering rate and brake rate respectively. So first you will have to remove one of those assignments. I will quickly show you how to do that. I will demonstrate with input F. From the main screen, press OK to enter the function list. Scroll to Rates and press OK. Scroll down to highlight Steering and press OK. Scroll up to Brake and press OK. You now see the brake rate settings. Scroll down to the On the Fly OTF trim assignment, which should be set to F, and press OK. Scroll down to Inhibit, INH, and press OK to set the selection. The F input no longer controls brake rate. Now let's assign an input to winch control. This is done in the Auxiliary Assign menu item. Starting this step with the winch line spooled all the way out is a good idea. It is also not a bad idea to do this with the vehicle turned off, or the vehicle battery disconnected. The DX5 menu interface can be buggy. I've had several winches try to rip off bumpers because the input assignment glitched. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate using input D. From the main screen, press OK to enter the function list. Scroll to Auxiliary Assign and then press OK. If your winch is not plugged into the Auxiliary 1 channel of your receiver, then scroll down to the channel selector and press OK. Scroll to select the correct channel and press OK. Scroll down to the input selector and press OK. Scroll up to D and press OK. A note of caution here. It is possible to select the back, L, or clear, R buttons in the input menu by accident. Make sure you exit the selector with the OK button. If you accidentally assign one of these inputs, enter the channel selector again and then press clear. This will restart the radio with the settings as they were at the last startup. You will lose any changes you made in this session, but won't have to start from scratch. This is the only way I have found to undo this mistake. Again, the auxiliary assign screen can be quite buggy. Now, for a quick explanation of the switch settings. Mode should be set to 3 position. A 2-position switch would be used for something like turning lights on and off, or shifting a transmission between low and high gear. Cyclic should be set to inhibit for winching. If cyclic is active, pushing a switch in the same direction multiple times will cycle through the possible output values. For example, -100, 0, 100, again and again. We don't want that. Momentary should be active. That is, when the switch is returned to its neutral position, the output returns to 0 for a 3-position switch. In our case, it means the winch only spools in or out while we are pushing the button. When we release the button, the winch stops. If momentary is set to inhibit, then once a position is set with the switch, that position is kept until the switch is moved in the opposite direction. You would want this for something like transmission shifting, where you don't want to be holding the button all day. The winch is now controlled by input D. In the center, neutral, 0 position, the winch does nothing. The up and down positions, 100 and -100 on the monitor screen, spool the winch line out or in. If you don't like the direction the winch line travels when you use the switch, you can change its behavior in the reverse menu item, or wind the winch line all the way out and then back in again. If everything is working properly, turn your radio off and then on again to completely save the settings. Isn't that cool? You now have a basic winch setup. You will be able to winch yourself over a gnarly obstacle or pull a friend's truck out of a mud hole. So let's review what we've learned. First, we familiarized ourselves with the Spektrum DX5 Rugged's programmable inputs. Then we did some optional prep work. Finally, we assigned our auxiliary winch channel to a radio input. I hope this demonstration of basic winch control setup on the DX5 Rugged radio has been beneficial to you. The DX5 Rugged menu system can be a bit obtuse and confusing, but the more you use it, the more it will make sense. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave a comment. In the next installment of this series, I will show you how to configure your radio with throttle priority winch control via channel mixing. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more RC tips and run videos. Have fun and stay safe.